What's up, guys? It's Lego Nerd, and I am so unbelievably, unbearably excited to be showing you guys my custom Lego minifigures for Avengers Infinity War. And guys, today I am showing you Iron Man, Mark 50, Captain America, Falcon, Bucky, Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Hawkeye, Thanos, Hulk, AntMan, Spider-Man, or Iron Spider, War Machine, Mark IV, Vision, Black Widow, Groot, Thor, Star-Lord, Loki, Rocket, Mantis, Drax, and Gamora. Oh my goodness, guys, there is so many figures that I have made for this movie already that it is just unbelievable. Like, I've spent so much time working on these figures. I think I started on these figures back in January or December. Like, that just goes to show how long I've been working on these figures just to have it done for today. And guys, I am super excited to get into this. And there's just so many figures that I've done here. I guess let's get into it. So to start out here, we have Iron Man Mark 50, which was confirmed to be the Mark 50 by Marvel. But I decided I wanted to show you guys this figure first because, honestly, I've always loved Iron Man, and he had the first movie. So, I mean, I guess we'll start with the helmet. But, I mean, what I did with the helmet was I took, like, a regular Lego Iron Man helmet, like, just like this one. Like a regular, like a red one, though. And I sanded the sides down, if you couldn't tell. Like, I took that idea from Ross Michael MGF. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. But yeah, I sanded the sides down, and then even in the front there, I even sanded the, like the chin area, I guess you'd call that. I sanded that down as well. And then I even sanded down, like, the back area, too, just to make it look that much more skin tight. Because in the movie, his suit really is really skin tight. Like, it's the thinnest his suit has ever been. So what I decided to do, how I decided to portray that on the Lego minifigure, is by sanding the helmet down so that it would fit a little bit better onto his head. And then, by not using any form of, like, torso or chest piece or anything at all. Because, originally, I was going to use a, like, what was it? Like a Galaxy Enforcer. It was like the torso piece used on Batman. Like the armored Batman from Batman vs Superman. This was actually the torso piece I was going to use, but as you can see, it is just way too bulky, especially on the back, and especially, like, even in the front as well. It's still a little too bulky. So what I decided I wanted to do is I wanted to sculpt it, which pretty much the entire top half of this figure was inspired by Ross, like Michael MGF. Just mainly because he had fantastic ideas for how to do that. So I sanded the helmet down, and then I sculpted using hard-drying clay. I sculpted onto the Lego minifigure, and what happens, though, is the hard-drying clay that I have, it's not like Procreate or green stuff or anything. No, it's literal hard-drying clay. Like, that's what it is. So it doesn't dry onto Lego minifigures. So what I had to do is I had to sculpt it while it was on the minifigure, because it would stick while it was still moist, I guess. And I had to mold it while it was there using my sculpting tools, and then end up tearing it off. And because at some point, if I like move an arm up or something, it was going to come off. So what I decided to do is I would just use hot glue and glue the torso piece down. And I think like it works really well, and especially like if you can tell, it just looks so thin. Like, his suit in the movie isn't thin enough yet where you need to just use a plain minifigure body like you would do for, like, Captain America or something, but it's not thick enough to warrant a torso piece, so really, this was the only option, and I think it was the best option. So, yeah, but the head underneath of the helmet is Tony's, like, I don't have the Infinity War sets yet, because I'm a broke little boy I just don't have the money for it. And so I am using the old Tony Stark head, which I do still think looks just fine. And guys, since this is Infinity War, I have made Tony Stark very beaten up. Like, he has a black eye, and he's got, like, blood underneath his right eye, or I guess left. and then he's just got like some blood up here. Like it's just he's so destroyed, and he's so like he's. I doubt Tony's gonna make it through this movie. As much as I hate to say it, because I love Iron Man, I doubt it. But yeah, so I did paint his neck in the metallic red color that I used for the rest of the figure. And I did use two different metallic red colors. One is more of a purple, and one is like a little bit of a has a little bit of a pink tint to it, but it's not enough so that it's metallic pink. But what I did on the cowl, or not the cowl, the face mask, is if I can hold it right, dang it, there we go, pick it up. All right, I did give Tony a HUD in there. And that's just like an extra level of detail that nobody ever really sees with these figures. But it just like it adds so much more, and I'm glad that I did it. So yeah, and then what I did for the face mask, you might notice that it looks a little bit different because I actually painted it in my own gold color before I did all the red and stuff on it, just so that it would match with the rest of the gold on the figure. So yeah, and then like I already said, the torso is sculpted, and then I just painted on the designs that you see there. The arms were the same that I was going to use with the torso piece, so that didn't really change. But I did originally have I painted the hands, but that just came off. Like it wasn't staying, so I just decided to scrape it all off. And I think it's fine. You don't really need to have the detail on his hands. But yeah, so then the legs are just, as you can see, there's nothing really more to say on them. I don't know what's on the back, so I hope that's accurate, but yeah, I'm not sure if I painted, no, I didn't paint the inside of his legs, but I will do that at some point, and I'll up you guys on my Instagram, or I'll update you guys, not up you guys, I'll update you guys on my Instagram when I do that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Iron Man. I used two different metallic reds, and yeah, I think that's it. Let's move on to the next figure. I really hope Tony doesn't die in the movie. Marvel, if you do, I'm coming for you. If you kill Tony Stark, I'm coming for you, Marvel. But yeah, let's move on to the next figure. So just like Ross, whose Instagram his channel link will be in the description. Couldn't find those words, but I'm just gonna take his saying and say that every minifigure I make is a project within itself, which I think that makes sense for a lot of the figures that I've made for Infinity War. But yeah, so Captain America here was definitely no exception to that rule, because he was so weird. Honestly, to paint this was honestly more of a weird process than anything else. And I'm going to see if I can get my camera to focus a little bit better. There we go, that's actually really good. Yeah, so his head was originally, I had just painted, and this is the same head, so I can't really show you the other one, but I had it painted that it was just like a thin beard. It was more of almost like a Thor's beard. Like, really, like, you can just see the way his beard works. It was almost kind of like that, like having that 90-degree angle. But really, I didn't want to have that on Captain America, because after watching a lot of the trailers and stuff and crying for hours, I decided that this is probably the best route. So I made his beard a lot more thick, and I made it a lot more dark. And then after doing that, I painted the beard in a new color, so the hairpiece didn't match, so I had to repaint the hairpiece. And the hairpiece is an Anakin Skywalker hairpiece from the Star Wars sets, like I think it was Revenge of the Sith. I think that's the third one, right? Yeah. I love Star Wars, but I'm not entirely sure the title. Yeah, it was Revenge of the Sith. Anyways, yeah. So, and then Captain America also, on the side of his head there, he does have a little bit of blood. Not as much as Tony Stark, but I do expect him to also die in the movie, but that's why I'm bringing tissues into a theater. So, yeah. And then his torso was just a regular Captain America torso that I took, and I didn't rip off the star, but I made it look like Captain America had his, like, the star and the red that was on his torso ripped off. And I think it looks just fine. I think it looks really good with that black. It's like a mixture of black and blue, as you can see there. Like, I used blue to go over the red, and then I used black over the star, just because the blue didn't go over the metallic enough, so I just used black. And then on the bottom of his torso, like the lower half of his torso, I used dark red, like not metallic red, but just a dark red on the red, I just said red a lot. Anyways, like on the red detailing that was already there. So I just used a darker red, and I took gray paint, and I sprayed a little bit onto my finger. It's not there anymore, but I sprayed a little bit onto my finger, and then I wiped it onto the white, and just to give it that dirty, like the dirty, like hardened look, and I think it looks fantastic. I'm so proud of this white area. Like, I think that looks fantastic. I'm so happy with it. But then, just to get them out of the way real quick, and just like the back, I just got rid of the red, like on the straps there, and then just continued that dark red detailing. That looks almost more of a brown. But to get them out of the way quick, I did take 2 Captain America shields, because in the movie, he does have 2 shields. So what I did is I took 2 regular, like, Captain America Lego shields, and I cut them so that they would have, like, this triangle shape up here, and I cut it so that it was more, like, even, like, a second triangle on the top. So, and then after that, I painted them both in gray, and then did the black detailing that you can see on there, which was based mainly on the TV spot when he's standing like this, and he's just, like, putting it on and, like, admiring it after T'Challa had just given it to him. So, yeah, but then I can just pull him out of his hands real quick. And then, yeah, so his arms were also a fun story, because I did paint them that the blue, like, his sleeves were going to go all the way down. But then they ended up not doing that, because I thought that was a promo art thing as well. So I ended up painting the entire sleeve, and then in one of the trailers, he had his sleeves rolled up, so I was like, oh, hey, I should probably paint that. So I had to repaint both of the arms with this skin tone color, and I'm sorry if you hear that, like, this clanging. It's my lamp. I don't have the most professional setup. But, yeah, I used this skin tone color, and then I extended his gloves a little bit. So, yeah, I do not have Tiny Tactical glove tops, because I did not order any, but, yeah. And then his legs are just some gray detailing with some brown boots, and I believe the boots go all the way around all 4 sides of his legs. They do, see right there. But yeah, so I think that is it for Captain America. I'm not sure if he's even Captain America anymore. He might just be Cap. He might be Nomad. I'm not sure if the Russo brothers, I think they said he wasn't Nomad, but it's Chris Evans in his natural habitat. He's got a beard. He's got the long hair. I've been talking for a while. I'm gonna stop. Possibly one of my favorite characters in all of movie history. Here we have Bucky Barnes, the White Wolf. He is not the Winter Soldier anymore. He is the White Wolf, who was so much fun to paint, mainly because of this figure was the first time that I ever made a Brick Arms order. And pretty much the Brick Arms order that I made was, I bought 2 weapons, and I have the other one on my desk right here. But yeah, so I bought 2 weapons from Brick Arms, and the gun that he's holding in his hand right now is the Brick Arms M249 Saw Para, which, as you can see here, it's just that gun, and it came with, like, a standard, like, an LMG mag, and I think I also have that on my desk. I should have grabbed the gun and this at the same time, but, yeah. So, originally, this gun that I'm holding right now, the M249, had this magazine, and this is not how his gun is in the movie. He does not have this magazine, because pretty much how it clipped on is, minus that, you would just clip this on and put it on the inside there, so then it would look as though it was like an ammo chain hanging down to the magazine. And that is not how it works in the movie. In the movie, it's just like a regular assault rifle, with like a regular assault rifle magazine. I'm trying to get it focused not on Bucky, but on the gun, which isn't really working, but it's kind of working. Anyways, so yeah. And then I really didn't do anything else to this gun, but what I did for the magazine is I took another Brick Arms. It was the Type 100, which had this magazine, and it looked so perfect that I bought this gun as well, and then I stole the magazine from this and put it in this gun. And by the way, the order was late, so by the time I received the weapons, I had already recorded the intro and the outro, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the outro, but in the intro you didn't see him with his gun. I just had him standing there in a standard pose because the guns hadn't arrived yet, and I hadn't been able to paint them yet. And pretty much what I did is I just took the silver that was on a little bit of War Machine, and I just painted the back here, and then the 2 lines in the front there. So yeah, getting it out of the way there, you can see the rest of the figure is pretty simplistic. What I did for the head was I took the Aquaman head from the Battle for Atlantis Justice League set, and I took a photo of that head and this hair before I painted it on this body, and I photoshopped the beard and the eyebrows to look like this, and I thought it looked super good. So I took the head and I painted over the beard, and I first of all used skin tone, as you can kind of see a little bit. I used skin tone above the eyebrows and then painted these eyebrows, and I think this looks just like Sebastian Stan. I think this looks so good. The beard looks so fantastic, and I just said fantastic like 5 times, but yeah. And then the hair was the regular, like the hairpiece that was used on Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron, and I just took one of those, sanded off the hair in the front, and, like the same hairpiece that would be used on like Gamora. So what I did is I took this hairpiece and I sanded off the front, just so that it was like back here, but it looked really like it was like a straight cutoff, and I didn't like that. So I took a little bit more clay, and I sculpted it, and I glued it on there, and you can kind of tell, like, right here where it was, but I think it looks fine. It's just hair. But yeah, so then his arm was a regular Lego chrome, like the newer chrome color, and I painted over that in the same color that I used for Thor and Ant-Man and Star-Lord and Hulk's hair, and I just went over the arm in like a thick layer of that just to make it that much darker. And then I actually did make thicker black lines also in an attempt to make the arm look darker, and I think I succeeded. And then it was only recently that I found out he had gold lining on his arm too, so I was like, oh hey, I should probably paint that on as well. So I did, and I think it looks really good. And then I'm not fond of painting detail on minifigure hands, just because it doesn't simply really stay. But I did paint it here for Bucky, because I really care about these figures, and I want them to look the best. So yeah, it's just a little bit like a black glove, and then a little bit of lines coming out from that to imitate fingers. But yeah, and then there's just really nothing on this arm. There's like the continuation of his glove up to his like elbow, and then like a little bit of black lining on the top there. Nothing really else to see there. You can kind of see it a little bit there. Like, if I hold it there, you can kind of see, like, right there. But anyways, yeah. So then the torso is just the same black lining. Like, it's nothing really special. It's just what you see there, that is all there is. And then just this little bit of silver. And then the back was pretty much based solely on the shot where it was Bucky, like the one magazine cover where it was Bucky like this, and he was actually looking at the camera, but because of his hairpiece, I can't do that. And then, yeah, so I was like, oh, hey, I can use that to paint. So I screenshotted that, and then I used that to paint it. And then his legs are pretty much just brown legs with boots and a little bit of detailing on them, nothing really too much special. And then just like a holster there. Yeah, but yeah. And then just to like remove the hairpiece real quick, or the entire head, just so you can see the continuation of that detail. But yeah, so I think that's it for Bucky Barnes. But yeah, I think that's it for Bucky. Let's move on. So Iron Spider here was a fairly fun figure to make. It was kind of a little bit complicated, but I mean, it was still fun nonetheless. So there we go, it's actually focusing. But yeah, so his head, I think, was the most complex thing or one of the most complex things I've had to paint for all of the Infinity War figures so far. So what I ended up doing was I took a regular, like a Spider-Man head, like the head that came in the tanker truck takedown, that's what it's called, and I took that head, and the webbing on it was faded. So I decided that I needed to repaint the webbing, which, as you can see, spans all the way across the head. like all the way around. It goes onto the neck even a little bit, and then like it goes all the way to the top. So yeah, but it just, I painted over it, and it just looks, I'm pretty proud of it. I think it looks good. Yeah. So then the torso, I'll preface this by saying the entire figure, like head, torso, legs, arms, like everything on the figure was originally the Spider-Man from the Tanker Truck Takedown. So after seeing that, you can just imagine how much work went into this figure. So what did end up happening was I painted the spider first, like spider, and then like his arms on the torso, and then also on the back I did that. And also, like in the movie, or pretty much what I based the entire back off of was in the movie, or in the trailer, I guess, there's the scene where Spider-Man is flipping on Thanos' like spinning exercise ring or whatever, and you see like this, like that's what you see. You see his back, and then he like flips, and then he lands, and he like stands up straight. So that's what I based the entirety of his back off of, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. That actually took several attempts to get right. Like it wasn't working. It was off center. It was just not working. It didn't want to work with me. So what I ended up doing is I ended up doing the entire thing in red. Like I did all of it in red first, then I outlined it in gold, and then I re-outlined the gold in red. So that was just like, that was the best thing that I could do, and I think it looks pretty good. And I can already hear a few of you asking, why didn't I paint the back, like the spider here, in the same red color that I used up here? Because in order to get this showcase up on time, there was a few things I had to sacrifice. These being the same color is one of those things, because this already was so hard to paint that I really didn't want to have to go over it again and potentially waste that time working on a figure which still looks pretty good. So, yeah. And then we ended up finding out that he has arc reactors on his arms, like on each of them on the front of his suit. So, like on posters that were released just a little while ago. So I was like, oh, hey, I'm going to paint those real quick. So I just grabbed a little bit of white paint, and I painted them on, and it was no big deal. But, yeah. So then the arms were just those arms I used. I think it was the same shot where he's like flipped upside down like this, because you can see like his back and then his arm, and he was like turned a little bit like this, so you could kind of get a guess as to what it looked like. So I just based it off that, and that's what I painted. So yeah, and then his legs are pretty much just some basic gray detailing, and then a little bit of gold, and the boots do go all the way around his legs. And yeah, I just used that same metallic, like light red color that I used on Iron Man. So yeah, I think that's it for Iron Spider, or the main figure of Iron Spider. But what I did is I did paint an entirely different head for him, because it seems like in the movie Peter does spend a little bit of time with his helmet off. So I just really quick I painted up a new head for him, and yeah, I just took the hairpiece off of Star-Lord and threw that on him, because it's pretty much the perfect color, and it works for Peter Parker. I think this looks a lot like Tom Holland, so yeah. Alright, let's move on to the next figure. Black Panther's a stand-in figure. I'll go over him really quick if you didn't watch my Black Panther showcase, but you should probably go watch that if you want to have it more detail. So, I painted his helmet. I used a Batman helmet. I sculpted a little bit onto the front so that it could get that, not like the nose. I did some gray detailing on the helmet, and then I also used the white that he has on the front. I used a gray to do the designs that he has on the front of his torso, because that was really hard to do, because it really blends in well with his suit, so I had to find a lot of reference for that. Same thing on the back. I painted his necklace in just a white color. This figure was made before I had access to metallic paint, so I didn't update it at all, but yeah. So then the legs are just, as you can see, like it's just white, like detailing, and then the white. The claws on his toes, I do have 4 there, and then just it's gray detailing and a little bit of white all the way around, so yeah. If you want to have more detail on this figure, go watch the Black Panther showcase. So we have Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch here, guys, and this figure was a lot of fun to make. She wasn't really the most complex, but that's why I kind of enjoyed making her. It was a little bit of a step back from what I was normally making for these figures. So yeah, but her head was the one from Claire, I think her name was, from Jurassic World, and Lois Lane in the big Batman vs Superman set. And I just repainted the eyebrows because I think this face looks just like Elizabeth Olsen. It looks super good in my opinion. But yeah, and then I took a Wonder Woman hairpiece, like from the DC superheroes, like the DCEU sets. And I just took that new Wonder Woman hairpiece and I painted it to like match her hairstyle in the movie. And I think it looks perfect. Like, it's super good, and I'm very happy with it. And then her torso was actually not the most complex thing I had to paint, which was a nice step back from the figures that I was making for this movie. It was a lot of complex detailing and like a lot of like really thin and like intricate detailing. But her just having a lot of straight lines was actually really nice. But like you can see, like these thick lines are meant to like represent her jacket, and then I didn't really do anything on the back. If I can get I didn't do anything on the back, and as you can see, this was a Killer Frost face that I made ages ago. But yeah. So there's nothing on her back there, mainly because there really isn't anything on her back in the movie. So yeah, and then her arms just have these like these small little black lines, and then on her hands, what I did is, I'll zoom in here a little bit so you can see it, is I actually used a skin tone color, and I painted her fingertips and like the middle part of her hands that she has exposed in the movie. And I'm not a big fan of painting on minifigure hands. Like, as I explained with Iron Man, like, his hands I tried to paint something on and it just fell off. But this actually held on pretty well. It's not as good as it was when I first painted it, but I think it looks just fine. So, yeah, zooming back out there. You can see their powers. How I chose to represent those is that was actually inspired by way back when Age of Ultron first came out, like 3 years ago. There was Lego recreations of the posters by a Lego account on Instagram called My Lego Stuff, which I'll also link in the description below. So yeah, but what he did is he took these like small little like candle fire pieces, and he used one of those as her powers. And I thought that looked really cool, but at that time I didn't have these pieces. Then for Christmas 2017, my sister actually gave me the Lego City Advent Calendar, which came with a fireplace that coincidentally had these pieces in it. So what I decided to do is I took those and then I used a metallic red color, as you can see, and I just painted, like you can see if I zoom in again, like you can see that I just painted a little bit of metallic red on there onto the orange just to give it a little bit of a blended look. And I think it looks really good. Like, I'm really happy with the way that her powers turned out. They look super good in my opinion. But yeah, and then how I got her jacket to extend down is I just used the regular Lego waistcape that came with her in the Civil War sets, because really I didn't really want to sculpt or like make a jacket like I did for Gamora, and I tried it, but it didn't look right. Like, it wasn't working. So I took it off the figure and I just gave her this waistcape, and there is actually nothing on her legs because there really isn't anything on her legs in the movie. And all I really would have done on her legs is maybe just painted like a gray line, like right around like the middle of the shin area, just to represent like her boots. But that's about it. That's all I do. So yeah, but I think that's it for Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch. But yeah, so here's just one more 360 of the entire figure. So there you go. Alright, let's go on to the next. Zoom in a little bit. Holy crap, War Machine was a challenge to pull off. He was one of the most complex figures that I had to make for this showcase, hands down. He was more complex than Falcon. He was more complex than, like, Vision or Thanos. Like, he was a challenge. He was more complex than Iron Man. he was just so hard to do, mainly because of the gun and the front of the torso, and I'll explain why the front of the torso in a little bit, but the gun, because that took so long for me to get the right build, and it took so long for me to get it to stay, like, on the shoulder, and it looks kind of messy if you're looking at it from the side here. Like, you can see that it's, like, a little bit, like, not as good up here, but, I mean, I think that can pass off as just being, like, wires or something for the gun, and I got actually terrified for a little while before the movie came out, because all the promotional material for War Machine, he didn't really have his gun out, but then there was a poster that released him with the gun on his shoulder, and it was on the shoulder that I had glued the gun onto, and I was like, oh, thank you so much, Marvel. Like, we have confirmation that he's got the gun, and that he's even in the movie. So, I tried to make it look like the gun in Infinity War after I had already glued it on, which just resulted in having, like, 3 red lines on either side of the front of the gun, and then painting a little bit of silver metallic down here, just so that it would coincide with his shoulder. But yeah, so that gun was definitely a challenge, and it took me like 3 or 4 attempts to get it to stay on there, and I finally got it on, and I was so relieved, and I stopped working on this figure, because I was just so done with it. But yeah, so the front of the torso was so freaking hard to do. What I did for the front of the torso was I painted on the arc reactor, like the center one, and then like the ones up here, and then the ones down here, and like these 4, and then, or I guess these 6, because there's 2 down here as well. They're very small, so you can't really tell, but I'll zoom in a little bit there. Yeah, you can see there, like those 2 little, like there and there. So yeah, but while we're zoomed in here, I guess we can just we'll go over the torso while we're here. But it was just so complex, because I did that, and then I did like these gray lines that you can see that span across the entire figure, and then after I had done that, I did the digital camo, so that was definitely just really a process that I had to do. But yeah, so that's like, yeah, it was a digital camo that pretty much I just had an entire, like, creative liberty, because how is any human supposed to replicate the digital camo that he has on his suit? Like, it would take hours or days or weeks or maybe even months to get it all over the figure, and I really only did it on the front of the torso, because on the legs look pretty great, and I didn't really want to but make those look too overcrowded with that detailing, and the arms as well. Like, the arms look super good, and I'm happy with those. I didn't want to overcrowd them. The back as well also looks super good, and I didn't really want to overcrowd it. So really, it's only on the front of the torso there. And actually, what you see here is all there is. There's no Rhodey head. As much as I would have liked to make one, I simply just do not have enough male African-American heads. So I unfortunately could not make one. And I apologize for that, but, you know, what are you going to do? So yeah. But then the helmet, I didn't really do anything to. It's just the one from the Superhero Airport Battle set, I believe that was the name of it, from Civil War. And then I really just painted over the eyes, and that was about it. And then actually, I'm seeing it here, I did paint the top of the helmet a little bit. You can see, because I made the face mask go a little bit farther than it did. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. He's just got a little bit of detailing on the legs, like this little bit of silver here, and then some gray down there. But yeah, the detailing on his legs does go all the way around. So yeah, you can see that there. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for War Machine. Alright, let's move on. So for the Hulk here, I'm just going to zoom out there. There you go. That was the figure dropping. Yeah, so Hulk here, pretty much I didn't really do anything to. I mean, he's just a little bit battle damaged with some green paint. And then, like, he's just got his blue pants, and I'm not sure if he's wearing his blue pants in the movie. He might just be wearing jeans. I'm not entirely sure, but I did just leave them blue like this. And then what I did, the only other thing, legit, I did the battle damage, the pants, and then I painted the hair a little bit. And as you might be able to tell, I don't have another Hulk Big Fig to compare him to, mainly because the only other Hulk Big Fig that I have that has stayed pure as a Hulk Big Fig is the Gladiator Hulk, and that is it's, he doesn't have his hair in that one, because I used my other Hulk from Age of Ultron for Thanos, but I'll get to that later, and, yeah, I'm sorry about that, that's the sound of water, but yeah, I sanded down the sides of his head, and I just painted them in, like, the same gray color that I used on Thor's torso, and I think a few other things in the showcase, like Star-Lord's helmet, I believe. I also used it on Ant-Man's helmet. But yeah, so I just used that same thing on his hair there, like as you can see, just there. Yeah. But that's pretty much it for Hulk. I didn't really do a lot to this figure, which definitely was a nice change of pace for the rest of these figures. So Natasha Romanoff here was actually a lot of fun to paint, mainly because her outfit is so different than it has been so far in the MCU, and it's like green now and it's black as well. But anyways, so her face and her head was, her hair was actually a Black Widow hairpiece, like the regular one that comes in the sets, and I pretty much just sanded down the sides and then mixed together a color that I thought looked borderline spot on to the color that her hair is in the movie, because it just looks so good, and I'm so happy with it, and it just looks fantastic. And then her face was actually used on Mantis in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, like, as you can see there. And you can see I didn't bother to remove the cheekbones on the other side of the head. But on this side of the head, I did remove them, and there's a little bit of dirt on there, too, just to make her look a little bit more worn down. But, yeah, so I'm just going to see if nope, that head is staying there. Alright, but yeah, so then her torso, you can't really see it, but it is a green color. I did make it in sort of green, like the dark green that it is in the movie, and you can kind of see that there. It looks sort of like a black, but it's really just a dark green. But yeah, so I did use that, and then her back was pretty much based solely on that shot when she and Cap were like walking in that one trailer, and they were like standing like this, and then they were just walking up. Because that was just a beautiful shot of her back, and that was pretty much also what her arms were based off of too, just because they couldn't really find a reference for those. But yeah, so then there's just some dark gray detailing up here, and then some gray straps, which I now realize are green. And while I have a really cool idea for how I could have done those better, I'm out of time. This showcase is probably already going to be late as it is, but I hope it won't be. Anyways, so yeah, I painted the straps in a gray color, and then I did a black line running up her torso, as you can see there, and then it just separates up here, kind of like a fork, and then that's where her chest kind of gets shown, or more like her collarbone area. But yeah. And then her arms are just basic black arms with some gray detailing, which, like I said, was based pretty much on that trailer where she was walking like this. Her weapons were based on I think it was, maybe Vanity Fair magazine, when she was, like, standing sideways like this, facing the camera, and then, like, she was putting them away. I kind of based those off that, but pretty much what they are, there's just, like, I think they've been used on torches, like these pieces that would normally be brown and used on torches are actually molded in black, and then I just used some lightsaber hilts that I had painted black. And yeah. And then her legs are just basically like just the straps and then the knee pads and the boots, and that's pretty much it. I do believe the strap goes all four sides of her legs. Her boots do anyways. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Natasha Romanoff. She was really cool, and I definitely really like her character. But yeah. Let me just adjust the camera real quick here. There we go. Thor was a fun figure to paint. Mainly because I haven't really made a Thor figure before, and I made Iron Man for, Spider-Man Homecoming, and I made Captain America for, what's it called, Civil War. I made him a while ago, I didn't make a video on it, but I actually haven't made a Thor before, so it was really fresh, and I really enjoyed it. So, his suit, like, his torso is mainly based on the end credit scene from Thor Ragnarok. That's when I really started to work on it. But, again, there it is. But the problem was he had his arms crossed, so you could really only see, like, that much, or, like, a little bit like that much. So I just had to infer what was down here, and it ended up being pretty much correct. Like, it looks super good. I'm really happy with it. And for his, like, the base color, what I did is I took a regular, like, a gray Lego torso, like like a dark gray, not the gray that was used on Drax or Falcon, but like a dark gray torso that was used on the newer Falcon, and just I used a silver wash, and I just washed the figure in that, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the way it turned out. And then, yeah. So his arms are painted muscle arms that I painted myself, and then just the gauntlets on the bottom there. And then his weapon, Stormbreaker, that's what it's called. If you guys didn't know, his name is Stormbreaker. So, what I did is I took a Lego rod, like a staff piece, and I might have one right here. I do not. Yes, I do. It's right here. So I took a Lego rod piece, like one of these, and then I chopped it up so that it would be this length, and then I just used that. I took a clip piece, washed it like a regular, like a Lego clip, and then just washed it in the same silver color, and then I took the axe from Gladiator Hulk and just clipped that on there, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. So, and it's not big enough that I need to get it out of the shop, but I'm just going to anyways. Yeah, and then back to the torso it was based on that one scene in the first trailer where he was standing like this and he was looking out of the Milano and he was like that they needed us to fight the battles. So, yeah, I just based that off that. I brightened up that shot a little bit so I could get it even better. And then the legs were they were like gunmetal legs that were used on like an Ultron drone. And I sanded the thighs so that the paint detailing that I did on there would not, like, scrape off when I moved the legs up. Because if you guys don't know, Lego figures are ruthless when it comes to paint. Like, there's so many measures that you have to take to make sure that it doesn't scrape off. Like, even, like, his gauntlets, I was scared, like, that when I was moving the arms, that the gauntlets would, like, scrape off on the side of the body there. And luckily you can even see there, like, it's even chipping off a little bit. But, so yeah, I just sanded the thighs down a little bit, and then I painted them in a dark gray color. And then I took his knee pads and just painted those up. And yeah, did a little bit of detailing on the side of his legs there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Thor. And I guess I haven't talked about the head yet. What I did for the head is I sanded the sides of a sleepy hair piece. Like a Lego figure sleepy hair piece, like the one that actually came with Thor and Infinity War. Sanded the sides down, and then I sanded the top as well, like you can tell. I sanded the top, and then I sanded the sides as well, you can see there. Then I painted it in my own, like a blonde color, and then I painted the beard and the eyebrows in those colors as well. And then I painted on his eye pouch. Spoiler alert for Thor Ragnarok, but he lost an eye. So I did paint on the eye patch, and I painted on a scar there as well. I'm not sure if I painted on the scar on this side, but I did paint on no, I didn't paint scar, but I did paint the eye patch on this side of the head as well, along with the beard and eyebrows. So, but I do definitely prefer to show him on this side just because it has the scar. But, yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for Thor. And let's move on to the next figure. I called Doctor Strange a stand-in figure, even though he hasn't been in a video. I did make him a while ago, but I have to go through full detail on him just because he hasn't been in a video before. So, Doctor Strange's accessories, I'll go over those really quick. They're just regular Lego dish pieces that were clear. I got them from that Spider-Man, the Sandman, Rhino supervillain team-up, I believe the name of the set was. I don't know. But yeah, so I used those dish pieces, and then I just used some new clips from the, like the clips from 2016. They're not new anymore. But yeah, so I'll get those out of the way because they are really big, and if Doctor Strange actually wants to stay on the stand, thank you very much. But yeah, so for his head, what I did is, oh my goodness, I wish I could give credit where credit is due. I think it was McLovin on Instagram took a Legolas head and painted a goatee onto it. And I thought that looked really good, so I wanted to try it. So I took a Legolas head and painted a goatee onto it. And it looks really good, so I kept it. He has a Superman hairpiece, and what I did for his, the top half that, goes around to, this part that goes on his neck, for the Cloak of Levitation was, it was a Mighty Micro's The Thor cape, and I cut it so that it would fit around his head, and I think it looks pretty good. If I really wanted to, I can like squish it so that it goes around the face like that, and then it folds in a little bit more, but it's definitely a lot easier when I don't have like 4 lights and a camera in front of it. So yeah. And then his Cloak of Levitation is just a regular cape that I trimmed down and did a little bit of black detailing on. And then his torso is just what you can see. I just painted on his robes, and I did what's it called? The Eye of Agamotto. That's what it is. I painted on the Eye of Agamotto, and then just like the brown, like the belt that he wears. I'll put his arms down. Like the belt that he wears, and then glued on some paper around his waist, just to show the like his robes continuing down, and then he just got his black shoes on the bottom there, which do go all the way around. But yeah, and then I'll just flip up his cape to show you guys the back, even though there's really nothing on it. But yeah, there's not really any detailing on his arms, and yeah, I think that's it for Doctor Strange. Okay, so Ant-Man here, I didn't really feel like it, but difficult, to say the least, mainly because I didn't have the reference for him. So what I did was I took the regular Lego Ant-Man helmet, which I think looks just fine. It's pretty close to his helmet in the movie, so I figured I wouldn't have to like take off the ears or like the antennas or whatever these are. I wouldn't have to take those off and then sculpt my own I sanded them down on Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, but I just decided to keep the helmet in itself and then just give it an entirely new paint job. And as you can see, that's what I did. I took that helmet and I painted it in my own grain color, and then I used that nail polish, like that wash, over it. And then, yeah, I painted the eyes in this metallic red color that you see scattered all over the figure. And then, because these strips are the same color as the eyes, so I decided that in order to keep this level of consistency, I needed to paint over the eyes, which I think was a necessary thing that needed to happen just to make this figure its best. So then after I washed the figure in that metallic silver color, I painted over that with this dark gray that you see. I'm trying to move my hand. Like this dark gray that you see on the bottom half of his helmet. And then, yeah, I just outlined a little bit of his helmet, give it a little bit of black detailing, and I think it looks just fine. And then the torso was pretty easy to find just because it's scattered everywhere for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, I mean, that worked pretty well for me. And then there was a significant difficulty on finding reference for his back. This wasn't like the first Ant-Man movie where Marvel straight up released shots of his front and back. Like, I had to scavenge the internet for a good few, I think it was an hour or so of me searching, trying to find shots of his back. I went through the trailer a few times on 0.25 speed on YouTube. I went through so much trying to find, reference for his back, and I found a set photo of him turned originally it was him turned like this, and I was like, alright, that's good enough, I can paint that. And then I found one where he was full on, standing like this, like Paul Rudd was. So I was like, thank you, photographer, and thank you, Paul Rudd, so I painted that up. And I think it looks pretty good on the back there. I'm happy with it. And then the arms are just his red shoulder pads, and the middle of his arm, his elbows, it's all just the red. And then his legs are just the same thing. It's a little bit of gray detailing and a little bit of red. He's got his belt back in this movie, his regulator, his regulator belt back in this movie. So I figured I needed to paint that on, and I did, so I'm pretty happy with this figure, but yeah. And as mentioned before, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I do have an alternative head for Ant-Man, and as well as another accessory that you'll see in just a little bit, but I did take another head, and I painted it up for AntMan here, and this was an Anakin Skywalker head. Like, if I take off the hairpiece, you can see back here I didn't bother to paint the stubble, but, like, it's an Anakin Skywalker head that I was looking at it, and I was like, this, if I painted a stubble on and maybe sanded a sleepy hairpiece, this would look a lot like Paul Rudd. So that's what I did. I took a sleepy hairpiece, and I sanded down the sides, and I sanded down the top, and I painted a stubble on this head. And I think it looks super good. I think it looks just like, or very close to Paul Rudd. But yeah, I think that's it for AntMan. And there's one little special surprise that I'm going to show you guys. So here we go. So after I painted the large AntMan, I couldn't help myself. I painted this tiny little micro figure for AntMan. And guys, this was so unbelievably hard to paint. Like, obviously there's not as much detail as there would be with regular figures, but, like, you can just tell if I put AntMan here, like, you can just tell the scale of how small this thing actually is. And it's not even as small as I wanted it. I was thinking that LEGO should, like, release an AntMan that's just like the size of this stud, like that this figure is standing on, like a stud that size should be what they put AntMan on. But that would be extremely hard to paint. So what I did is I just took the AntMan from Civil War, I painted everything black except for the helmet, and then I painted the detailing that you see on top of that. So I think it looks pretty good for just how small this figure is, but, like, you can just see, like, the red detailing and then, like, that little black dot in the center there, just to obviously, like, show you guys the like, separation that he's got there. So, I did that, and then I bumped the stand. And then I just painted on his belt and his gauntlets, I guess you could call them, in a gray color, because that was before I had access to the metallic color that I used on the rest of the figure. And then I painted a little bit of red on top of the eyes there, just to have a little bit of continuity with my larger minifigure AntMan. And then I just painted a little bit of red detailing on the legs, and I think that's it, because this figure was definitely just so small and so hard to paint that I figured this was the best I was going to do. So I'm pretty happy with it, and yeah, alright, now we can move on from AntMan. So Clint Barton, Hawkeye here, and I'm sorry guys if my voice sounds a little bit different. I'm recording this showcase over the course of several days, and at the time I'm recording the Hawkeye segment here, this is the day that, like, the day before Infinity War comes out, and I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit, so I apologize for that, but you can just tell that I'm recording this the day before, and I still have to edit the entire video, so you can tell just how close I'm cutting this video. But yeah, so Hawkeye here, and it's already off, but his bow is just a regular Lego bow that I chopped off all the excess material and just left as the standard bow. I'm gonna bring him a little bit closer, but you can see just the torso is a little bit of purple, and then, actually, there you go, you can see that there a little bit more. It's just purple, and then dark gray and a little bit of light gray there, and then some dark blue. And then you can also see on his arms, or on his arm here, there's some purple on there, and over here as well on his other arm, which is definitely a little bit hard to see, but hey, it works. His back was fully painted until I got a stud shooter, like a Lego stud shooter that, like, just one of these, and then I just dropped it. But I took this and I cut off the handle, as you can see, like there, I cut off the handle, and then I took off the gray piece, but then I cut off the handle and sanded the top of it, like, up here a little bit down, and filled in the area like this where the gray peg connects. I sanded that in, or I filled that in with clay, and yeah. So, and then I glued it to the back of the torso that had already been painted, and just stuck a bar in there just to simulate, like, I guess an arrow in there. But yeah, so then his legs are just the straps and his holster that's painted on, because if I wanted to have him be able to move his hand like this, I wouldn't be able to have a 3D holster, so I decided to just leave it there. And yeah, so I just pretty much, other than that, just painted his boots, which do go all the way. No, they don't. They only go around those 3 sides. Well, yes, you can pretend you didn't see that, right? Alright, cool. But yeah, let's move on to the next figure. Star-Lord was a very fun figure to paint, just because I had so much reference for this figure, if I'm being totally honest. I had a lot, because his suit really didn't change from Guardians 2. It was pretty much the exact same suit, and it's just his jacket is closed now. So I just had a lot more reference to go off of, so I used a lot of that. But anyways, so how did I do the jacket? How did I make it look 3D like it does? It actually is 3D, but only on the front of the torso though. On the back of the torso, it's just the back of the torso. But the front was actually used by by doing multiple layers of electrical tape, like just regular, I don't know if I have it with me. I do not. I apologize. But yeah, so I just took electrical tape and then I cut a layer off, or I cut 2 or 3 layers off here, and then I cut out all of the layers. I'm gonna take off the head real quick. But all of the layers I cut out there, just so you can get that black, just so you can see, because he's wearing his jacket and then his shirt underneath. So yeah, I did do that. And then his arms are just pretty basic, with just some brown detailing and the black in between those. And it is the same on both. The back of his jacket was pretty much based on just a few scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I can't remember which scenes, because I did make this figure a little while ago, but they were based on scenes from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And then his legs were 100% inspired by Michael MGF, who just recently, earlier today, uploaded his Infinity War showcase, which was mind-blowing, but that was really cool. And then, yeah, so I pretty much just looked at his legs and replicated it. I apologize if you are not a fan of that, but really, I really just wanted to do that just because his leg designs look so good. And then I looked at the actual, his pants in the movie, and it looked so good. It looked just like them, so I was like, alright, I don't really care anymore at this point. I'm doing it anyways. And you can also see, if I can get the brightness up, there you go, you can just see a little bit more black lining, on the thighs there. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for, Star-Lord here. His boots do not, wow, I really skipped on painting the inside of the legs for these figures. I did do that a lot. I do apologize, but it's mainly just to get these figures out on time, guys. I'll update you if I decide to paint the inside of his legs, but it doesn't seem likely. But alright, I think that's it for Star-Lord. Let's move on. So Gamora, Thanos' adoptive daughter. There we go, I'm gonna bring it up so you can see it. This figure was a lot of fun to make. Which, I've said that for so many of these figures. All of these figures were a lot of fun to make. So I apologize if I've said it in all of the other figure segments. But, yeah, Gamora was just, I had a lot of reference for her, and her sword is pretty much just a basic Lego sword that I did nothing to, so I'll just get it out of the way real quick. As you can see, that's just the handle. I did nothing to the sword. It stayed the same. But, yeah. So, Gamora was pretty easy. All I did was I just painted a new torso. Well, she actually really isn't a stand-in, because I painted pretty much everything on her. The only thing that stayed the same were the arms, the arms themselves, the jacket, and the head. Not even the hair. For the hair. It's very, very hard to see, so I'm going to brighten up the shot. But as you can see there, as you can see, it does get lighter. It starts out as this red color, and then it gets darker red, progressively getting to the black color that you see on top. So I thought that was really fun and really cool to do. But then the legs are just her regular boots, which I don't think, yeah, I did paint the inside of those. You can see that there. But then they're pretty much just some straps and a little bit of detailing, and then the torso is just the black lining and a little bit of white. There's nothing really else to do. Like the back, like there's nothing else to do or to see on this figure. But yeah, I think that's it. Let's move on. I don't remember if I called Drax a stand-in or not. I honestly don't. I recorded that a few days ago. I'm recording these figures over a course of several days. But yeah, so Drax, I'm not sure if he was a stand-in, but the upper half of his body, like his torso, the front of his torso, the back of his torso, the arms, and the head stayed the same. Like, I didn't repaint those in any way, shape, or form, because if I were to do that, it would be like trying to paint, like, accurate, like a tiny Ant-Man. Like, honestly, his tattoos on the front of his torso alone are so tiny and so intricate. Like, there's even little, like, dots on the inside of the skulls there that you can see if it would focus. Like, there's even tiny little dots on the inside of those skulls. So, how am I supposed to get one of my brushes in there? Like, it's so small, and I honestly couldn't redo that in any way. So, that was bad. But yeah, so I'm gonna zoom out my camera real quick here. There we go. Alright, but yeah, so how could I read on that? And I definitely did not want to repaint those tattoos onto a more accurate color body, because those are just so freaking complex. That would almost be as hard as painting through the tattoos. But yeah. So, the only thing I changed from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is maybe the knives, and I can't remember if I used these knives in that showcase or not, but really they were Lego side pieces that I just chopped off, like, the excess two blades and then painted these in, like, a glittery silver color, just so that they would shine, and then, yeah. So then his legs were painted completely new, just to be more accurate to his suit in the movie, and honestly, I don't know what May 2017 me was thinking when I painted those legs. Those were terrible. They didn't look good. But I repainted these, and I think they look pretty good. I'm happy with them. But yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for Drax. And yeah. I don't know what's right and what's wrong in the terms of Rocket's guns, but hey, I gave him just a regular gun that I got from Dr. Freeze a while ago. So yeah, that's his gun. I'm gonna get it out of the way. But Rocket was actually really, really fun to paint, mainly because he's just super simple. So I took the regular Rocket Raccoon head from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, painted it in my own brown color, then I painted the arms in that same color and the feet in that same color, like the feet that are on the bottom of his double molded legs there, that you can see. Yeah. And then I did a strap along the thigh area on these smaller minifigure legs. Yeah, and then I did paint on his knee pads, as you can see there and there. And then I did even do a little bit of black detailing on both sides there. Yeah, and then the front of his torso was just simply a little bit of silver detailing, a little bit of light blue detailing, and a little bit of brown detailing. There's really nothing else to mention. Like, that's all there is. There's really nothing else to say about him, but yeah. And then his back or I guess the tail is just also painted in that same color. But to remove that real quick, I gotta take the figure off the stand, and then there you go. But yeah, the back is just a basic design. I didn't really paint anything up there just because I knew that the head would cover it. So I didn't paint anything, and I hope that's alright. But yeah, so it's just a basic little bit of light brown detailing, and then some gray and silver. And then just a little bit of black lining. But yeah, I think that is it for Rocket Raccoon. Let's move on. Alright, so Teen Groot here, who I'm pretty much going to be referring to as regular Groot for the entirety of this showcase, or this segment of the showcase. He was really a challenge to make, I guess. He was super really hard, because I had to do a lot of sculpting on this figure. Like, as you can see, I'm just going to give you a really quick 360 of the figure. Like, I had to do a lot of sculpting, especially for the head. And the head started out as just like a regular, like a Lego head. Like, it was like one of like these regular yellow Lego heads, because I don't really use these regular yellow heads. So what I did is I took one of these heads, and then I had to sculpt the head in sections. So what I did is I wrapped it around like the base of the head. Like, I wrapped it all the way around there, like on the sides and like the front and the back. And then after I waited for that to dry, I did the front of like the spikes on his head here, and then I did this, waited for that to dry. Then I waited for the spikes, or then I sculpted the spikes on like the side and the back of his head, waited for those to dry, and then I sculpted the like this one spike on the side of his, on the other side of his head. And I say spikes when they're more like a little bit of like branches, but anyway, so yeah. That was pretty much what I did for the head, and then I painted it all in this like this light brown color, and then I painted the face on, and I did the exact same thing. I have to give full credit to Ross, Michael MGF, who I've mentioned multiple times throughout this showcase, for his eyes design, which looked fantastic. So I decided that I would pretty much just replicate that design onto my Groot, which I think looks pretty good. I'm really happy with it. And just to reiterate what he said in like his making of video, was I really disagree that Lego minifigures can, like Lego minifigure eyes can only be presented with a like by a black circle and a white dot. Like, I really disagree with that, and I totally agree with him on that. Like, it can be really limiting for some figures, like especially like Mantis. Like, as you've seen, or will see, I don't know, I'm recording this out of order, but yeah, so, but like, I made her eyes smaller, I made his eyes, like Groot's eyes, I made them humanoid eyes, or like Rocket Raccoon even, Lego didn't make them, like, black circles with white dots, like, they made his a little bit different, so I really disagree that Lego eyes can only be a black circle with a white dot. So I made his eyes humanoid, and then I painted on his mouth, and I think I captured the personality of Groot really well, and then just did a little bit of black lining, and then like some green moss on the like dark green on like the sides and the top of his head. And then his torso was also a challenge. What I did for his torso is I took a little bit of like the hard drying clay that I've used numerous times throughout this showcase, and I sculpted it onto his torso, and I just used a sculpting tool and engraved all the black lines that you see. All of that was engraved into the torso, like the sculpted part, and then painted out, like in the same color as his head. So then after I did those lines, I did a little bit of moss in the corners, like the top corner here and the bottom corner here, and then I thought that it looked really good from the front. Like, looking at it this way, it looked good. Even looking at it from, like, this angle, it looked really good. Or, like, this angle. But when looking at it from the side or the back view, his back looked barren. Like, I needed to do something on his back. So, I did. And it's thinner, but it's still there. And I just engraved the same stuff. I did the same process. I engraved the black lining in there. And then I did the moss afterwards. So, yeah. And then his arms are just a little bit of black lining and some green moss. So, but pretty much I had full creative liberty making Groot. I really only had to capture his face, because the rest of him, like I said with War Machine, how is anyone supposed to accurately recreate Groot's wooden pattern or War Machine's digital camo? Like, it's just almost physically impossible, and especially for Groot here, it would take months to fully do, like, his accurate torso, like, or like his accurate wood design. And I guarantee you, if I had spent the entire time that I spent making these figures, like almost 5 or 6 months, I guarantee you that I could have had an awesome, like a fantastic Groot minifigure. But I just decided that in the order to save time, I would just make it inaccurate. And that's honestly, it wasn't even in order to save time. It was just because it's borderline impossible to recreate his accurate wooden pattern. So then his legs are just the same thing, just Lego, like, painted in this color. They're short minifigure legs, like that would be used on like Rocket Raccoon. But like, yeah. So I just painted those in the same color as the rest of his body, did some black lining, and then I did the moss. So I think that was pretty much it. That was a lot of that was a lot of information. I apologize that I just went on 2 different rants talking about Lego minifigure eyes and how you couldn't recreate Groot's wooden pattern. But yeah, so I think that's it for Groot, and I think he was one of the most complex figures other than War Machine. But yeah, let's keep going. Mantis was a stand-in from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, so I'll just go over really quick. The torsos and the arms stayed exactly the same. The legs, I just repainted the side with a green color. And then her hair, I did do these turquoise streaks because after rewatching Guardians of the Galaxy 2 a few more times, I did realize that she had that in the movie. I repainted her antenna and I redid her head because her head, the eyes were not good, so I scraped off the paint that I used there, and then I just use a little bit more black in the eyes just to make her pupils a little bit smaller. And I think that's it. If you really want to have a full, in-depth, I don't want to say review, but showcase of this figure, then go to the Guardians 2, go to the Guardians 2 video on my channel, and just watch it there. But yeah, so I just redid the eyes, the hair, and then a little bit on the legs. And that was it. So yeah. Loki was also a stand-in figure because his suit from Ragnarok really didn't change in this movie, so I just kept it the same while just doing a little bit of green on this side of the torso there, and then a little bit of green on the arms. But other than that, he really didn't change. I gave him a new head because from Christmas 2017, I did get the Thor Ragnarok sets, so I got the new Loki head. And I got the Hela hair, which is the hair that is used on him right now. It's actually also Hela's cape, so it's just like this green, like the new material. And then the hair is just Hela's hair. And as much as I would have liked to use a cape that I did for Thor Ragnarok, with this new long hair, I had to use one of these capes. But yeah, I'm actually not too terribly, I don't despise these capes. I do just prefer the older ones. But yeah. So I think that's it for Loki, other than the little bit of green on the side of his torso there, and a new head. I think he really didn't change.
So Vision here, who I will turn up the brightness for. There you go. Vision was a lot of fun to do because he is super, super simple, and I had a lot of reference on this figure for, actually, the only thing that I couldn't really find was reference for his back. I had a lot of reference for, the arms, the legs, the torso, and the head, but almost nothing for the back. So what I did for the back is I knew it would be covered up by the cape most of the time anyways, so I just did this, which I'm not entirely sure if it's based on concept art or not, but I'm fairly certain that it is. I don't really care. I'm leaving it. It looks fine, whether or not it is accurate. But yeah, so it's pretty much just his basic, his synthetic clothing that he's been wearing since Age of Ultron. That's all it is. It's just a little bit of purple that does continue onto the arms. A little bit of silver there, which originally was supposed to be white, but I did end up deciding to make it silver just because... Or no, that is actually white, because down here is silver. And then, yeah, I did use white up here. And it was so hard because white is actually very hard to paint with. So yeah, that's why I use silver on a lot of these figures instead of white. But yeah, so then his legs are just pretty much basic, just a little bit of silver detailing, a little bit of black lines, and then his legs, or his boots, which do go all the way around his legs. So yeah, and then his arms are they were the basic sand green color, and just with a little bit of gray detailing up top there, and then some purple, silver, and magenta, which I did paint a little bit of gold onto, and I think his arms look super good. I think this figure in itself looks super good, and I'm very happy with it. His head was pretty much just a regular standard, Lego Vision head, which I do not have a base one with me, but I just took the gray detailing that was on the front and on the back of his head, and just made it go all the way around, and I used a dark gray, and then I went over it in this silver color, this dark silver color that I used on Thor, who is my main example for that. But yeah, so I just did, and it even goes on top of the head too there. But yeah, so I think that is it for Vision. Other than that, like, I left his face the same. Like, everything there is fine. The Mind Stone is also still in there. If I can zoom in a little bit, you can see Mind Stone is there, and I did even paint a little bit of white, just a tiniest little bit on the inside there, just to simulate like a glowing effect, which I think looks super, super good. And yeah, I think that's it for Vision and all of the figures. Yeah. I don't know. This is like one of the last figures that I'm recording, so I apologize for that. But yeah. Alright, cool. I believe Vision actually might be the last one before Thanos, so let's move on to the Mad Titan himself. So, Star-Lord, or not Star-Lord, I don't know why I said that. So, Thanos, the Mad Titan, Gamora and Nebula's adoptive father. Holy crap, was this figure something that I had to do. I'm just gonna say that it started out as a Hulk, and you can just tell by the difference in these two figures what I had to do to make this figure what it is. There was so much effort that I put into this Thanos. Basically what I did is I started out with the Hulk. I tore off that hairpiece. Like, I just sanded the absolute crap out of it. That was 3 or 4 sessions, that head up there. 3 or 4 sessions of me just sculpting, sculpting with a little bit of clay, sanding the crap out of that hairpiece. Because I do not have a Dremel tool. I don't have an electric sander. I have a filer. I spent so much time. I think it was at least 2 hours, like on and off. Like 2 or 3 hours on and off, just sanding his head to make it look like he's bald and rounded and like just look like how a regular Lego minifigure would look. Because like if I take Peter Parker here, I can show you that he is like, I just tried to get that shape, like the top of his head, like that shape of the head, and I think I did succeed. Just in the fact that it looks super good, and I'm super happy with it. But I'll just get Hulk out of the way, because that's pretty much all that I did, or all the sanding-wise that I had to do for the figure. But other than that, it was just a crap ton of painting. This was my first time painting an entire face for a figure. I've never painted I've never painted eyes before. I painted eyebrows before, but I never painted, like, facial expressionist, like a lot of stuff like this. It was on a purple base as well, so I couldn't, like, it was super weird, because instead of it being on skin tone, or even skin tone, because I just left Vision's face the same, like, this was so weird to paint, and it was so fun to paint as well. But I do have the base color of his skin tone, which I think just looks just like his skin tone in the movie. But yeah, and then that arm is just pretty much the barren arm with a little bit of lining. And then, this is super hard to maneuver, by the way, the Infinity Gauntlet. What we've been waiting for 10 years. This thing was insane. I used the same gold color that I used on the rest of the figure. And while I wanted to make it a little bit darker, I couldn't get a right gold color for it. So, this is what it is. But before I get too much into anything else, the gauntlet was so much fun to paint because I had so much reference, and I pretty much just based it entirely off of the one poster where he was standing in the middle, the first time that we saw him like this, and he was standing in the middle like this, and holy crap, that was amazing. But yeah, so then I just painted it, like, down here is just, like, his gold knee pads and his, I guess, partial belt piece, I don't know, and then just, like, a little bit of blue lining and more here, and you can see if I brighten the shot a little bit, maybe there's the black, yeah, you can see that, just some black lining here. It's kind of hard to see in person as well, like, and it does continue under the back there with more blue lining. But yeah, so the Infinity Gauntlet was a lot of fun, and then I have all 6 Infinity Stones in there, and if I can get it focused, there we go, we got the Time Stone, the Soul Stone, the Space Stone, the Power Stone, or I don't even know all the stones. But we have the Time Stone, the Mind Stone, the Soul Stone, the Reality Stone, the Power Stone, and the Space Stone, I believe. Or you couldn't even see that crap. I had to lift the figure. Okay, I'll go over it one more time. Time Stone, Mind Stone, Soul Stone, Reality Stone, Space Stone, and I can't even remember, honestly. You've heard me say it. This is that last one that I can't remember. But yeah, that was so much. Oh man, this figure was so much fun to paint. And please, Russos, don't make him kill any of the Avengers. I love them all too much. But yeah, so, and then the back is just the same, like shoulder armor up there, and then just a little bit of blue lining. But I think that is it for the Mad.
So that is it, guys, for my Avengers Infinity War custom Lego minifigure showcase video. And guys, this has been 10 years in the making. This has been so much fun making these figures, and once again, I'll go over them for you. Bear with me, as I'm going to have to take several breaths, but we have Iron Man, Iron Spider, Captain America, Bucky Barnes, White Wolf, Hawkeye, Clint Barton, Vision. Crap. Okay, hold on. AntMan, Wanda Maximoff, Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, Sam Wilson the Falcon, Thanos, Rocket Raccoon, War Machine, James Rhodes, Hulk, Bruce Banner, Gamora, Groot, Drax, Mantis, Loki, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Thor, and Star-Lord, guys. These figures have been so much fun. Without further ado, we're going to end this video. See you guys on the Avengers Infinity War side. I'm seeing it this weekend. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be emotional. And what else you can expect from me for the rest of the year, I don't even know. I'm trying to make Deadpool 2 figures, even though I don't know if that's going to pan out, but alright, cool. That's it. I'm done here. I can finally stop recording. This is it. Bye, guys.